Good morning, class. So, in the last class, we have discussed about the vegetative reproduction. We have seen how the plants can produce the exact copies which are similar in structure and function by the process of vegetative reproduction. Today, we will discuss the second method of reproduction, that is asexual reproduction. This asexual reproduction is shown by the plants and the lower organisms, like you can see the animals also. What happens in the asexual reproduction? First we will understand the meaning of asexual reproduction. If we will break it, then we will know that a plus sexual. So we can say that in this process, in this kind of reproduction, the sexual contact between two parents is not required. It means in this process two parents are not required. Means only one parent, whether it is the animal or the plant, they can produce the similar type of organisms by this method, that is the asexual method. In this process, if we see the types of this asexual reproduction, then first type of the reproduction is the fission. What we are right now studying, we are taking the types of reproduction. The types of reproduction, the first type of reproduction is the fission. This fission is again divided into two parts, the binary fission and the multiple fission. Before going into the detail, we will know what the fission is. Fission is the opposite word to the fusion. And what we understand by the fusion? To fuse the cells. Means if two different cells are there, suppose this is one cell and this is one cell. If both the cells are coming together and then they are becoming the one cell, so here we can say that this process in which two different cells are joining and they are fusing with each other and they are making one cell, that process is known as the fusion. So now what is the meaning? But we need to know about the fission, not the fusion. So fission is exactly opposite to the fusion. In the fission, what happens? If already one cell is there, one big cell is there, this big cell can divide into more than two or more than two cells, then it is called as the fission. Fission again is of two types. First is the binary fission, the other is the multiple fission. The binary fission, the binary means two. Meaning of the binary means two. And fission means breakdown. So we can understand that if any cell, here by this example you can see, by this figure you can understand, if any cell divide itself or break itself into two new cells, then we can say that this is the example of the binary fission, because one cell is breaking itself into the two new cells. And the example of binary fission, this process actually happens in amoeba. You are very well aware with the amoeba. Amoeba is a unicellular organism, means it has only one cell in it for each and every function of its body. So that amoeba, how the amoeba divides, how the amoeba multiplies itself by this process, that is the binary fission. In that what it does actually, only one cell of amoeba is there. That one cell of amoeba divides itself into two new cells, and both the new cells work as the two new amoeba. So this process is known as the binary fission. Second is the multiple fission. Now in the multiple fission, what is happening here? Multiple means so many. So we can understand that one big cell is there and that big cell is dividing into so many, more than two new cells, then we will call it as a multiple kind of fission. And this happens, the example of this is the plasmodium. What the plasmodium is? Plasmodium is the parasite which causes the malaria in our body, and this plasmodium divides itself into so many cells in our body, while the mosquito, the female Anopheles, bites us. This plasmodium enters in our body and then it multiplies in so many cells, and then it causes the malaria to us. That's why it is the multiple kind of season. Second is budding. Budding, but you can understand the external outgrowth on any organism. Budding means the external outgrowth, the external, I have to correct the spelling, that's why I am rubbing it. Budding is the external outgrowth on body. It is similar to the tuber of the potato. As we know, in the potato, some outgrowth comes on it that we call the eye of the potato, and we call it a tuber. Similarly, in the animals also, the budding is the external outgrowth on the body, and the example of this is the hydra. Hydra is the organism which lives in the water, and what happens actually in the hydra? In the hydra, suppose this is a hydra, and this small outgrowth is appearing on it, that is the budding. Now what will happen? This bud will remain on the hydra and it will keep on growing on the hydra, and finally after some time it will completely develop, it will mature, and then it will be separated from here, and then we will get a new hydra with us. So that's why this is the process budding by which the hydra is dividing itself. The second kind of example we can say the yeast. What the yeast cells are doing, yeast is also one cell. It will produce the outgrowth over it, that will be the another cell. It will produce the outgrowth over it, it will be the another cell. Similarly, it will form a chain-like structure. So this is the example of the chain budding. Now at last, when all the cells will mature, then these cells will be separated from the parent cell, and then all the cells will form the new yeast cell. That's why this is the they are showing the budding kind of reproduction. Now the third kind of reproduction is the fragmentation. By the fragmentation word, we can understand that these organisms are dividing themselves into the small fragments, and each and every fragment is behaving like the new organism. That's why they are showing the fragmentation kind of reproduction. The example of the fragmentation is Spirogyra. What the Spirogyra is doing, suppose it is a kind of plant, suppose this is a plant cell, and it divides itself into the small fragment along with the nucleus, and each and every fragment will behave like the separate organism. That's why this is known as the fragmentation kind of reproduction. Now the next is the regeneration. There is not much difference between the regeneration and the fragmentation. Regeneration is also similar to the fragmentation. Again, in the regeneration, what will happen? One part of the plant, it will be divided into part, and one part of the plant will produce the new organisms. But the basic difference between the regeneration and the fragmentation is that in the fragmentation, every part of the plant can produce the new organism, but in the regeneration, not every part of the plant can produce the regeneration or new organism. Like the example, you can say the lizard. What the lizard can do, if the tail of the lizard is broken, then the tail do not have the capacity to produce the front part, but the front part has the capacity to develop the tail. So this is known as the regeneration. But if it is the fragmentation, then what should happen? The tail part also should produce the front part, and the front part also should produce the tail part, but it is actually not happening, and this is the basic example. This is the basic difference between the regeneration and the fragmentation. The other example is the starfish. In the starfish also the same thing happens. Suppose this is the starfish, this is a starfish, and suppose this part, some part of this starfish is broken, like this one. If this part is broken, then this part do not have any capacity or any capability to develop again into new part. This part will not generate the new organism, but this bigger part will form this broken part. That's why this is the regeneration. It is also a kind of asexual reproduction. The last example of this is the last part of this is the spore formation. Spores are very small particles. They are like the seed, but we cannot see them by the naked eyes. So the spores are formed by the fungus. The fungus are present in the form of the hyphae. Suppose this is the hyphae of the fungus and this is the sporangium, which will produce the spores inside it. The spores are very minute, we cannot see them by the naked eye. As the suitable condition comes, the sporangium ruptures, it will break and the spores will come and they will come into the air. In the air the lots of spores are present, and when the spores will get the suitable environment, like if we keep any bread or any toast in the moist condition, then what will happen? Suppose this is a piece of bread, all the spores will go and sit over it, and after 2 to 3 days the bread will get lots of fungus over it. That is the example of the spore formation. So by all these methods, all the organisms are forming, producing the new organisms by one parent only. They are not requiring any other parent or the second parent, or there is no need of the gamete formation, the fusion of the gamete. That's why we are calling it as a asexual reproduction. So this is over for this class only, and in the next class we will start the sexual reproduction in the animal and the plant. Till then, bye bye and have a nice day. Thank you.